As the second day dawned, the initial novelty of my digital exile began to fade away. I woke to the jarring, shrill ring of the flip phone, a sound I had forgotten. It was not a notification chime, but a primitive mechanical alarm that demanded my full attention. I sat up, the silence of the apartment pressing against my ears like a physical weight. The laptop sat on the desk, its plastic casing cool and uninviting in the morning light. I opened the lid, watching the screen flicker to life with a soft, yellowish, dim glow. My task for the morning was to check my emails using the archaic, clunky browser software. The connection light blinked a frantic, desperate orange, signaling the struggle for a stable signal. I tapped my fingers on the desk, waiting for the homepage to render its simple layout. Images loaded in jagged, horizontal strips, revealing themselves with the agonizing slowness of a dying star. I felt a surge of genuine irritation, a reflex born from years of high-speed, instant access. The browser crashed twice before I could even log into my primary, long-neglected web account. I sighed, leaning back to stare at the ceiling, feeling the frustration mount within my chest. This was the reality of 2010, where patience was not a virtue but a strict requirement. I finally accessed my inbox, finding a sparse collection of messages that felt strangely formal today. Without the convenience of modern apps, every reply required a deliberate, slow, and careful effort. I typed out a response, the keys clicking with a hollow, plastic sound that filled space. There was no predictive text to save me, only my own thumb typing on the keypad. I made several errors, backspacing repeatedly until the words finally aligned with my intended meaning. The process was tedious, yet it forced me to consider the weight of my every word. I felt a strange, lingering sense of accomplishment once the message was finally sent away. Stepping outside, I realized that the city felt different without the constant hum of connectivity. I walked toward the coffee shop, relying solely on the printed map I had prepared earlier. The paper was becoming soft at the edges, worn by the constant friction of my thumb. I stopped at a corner, turning the map around to align it with the street signs. A passerby glanced at me with mild curiosity, likely wondering why I was using physical paper. I ignored the look, focusing instead on the intersection that would lead me to my destination. The world seemed to have regained its physical dimensions, no longer flattened by a digital screen. I noticed the architecture of the buildings, the texture of the brick, and the shifting clouds. These details had been invisible to me before, obscured by the glare of my phone screen. Reaching the cafe, I ordered a drink without the benefit of a mobile payment app today. I pulled out a crumpled bill, feeling the crisp, tactile reality of cash in my hand. The transaction was simple, human, and devoid of the data tracking that defined my modern life. I sat by the window, watching people rush past while constantly checking their glowing, modern devices. They looked like ghosts in a machine, tethered to a stream of information I had abandoned. I felt a sudden, sharp clarity, as if the fog of constant notification had finally lifted. My mind was quiet, free from the incessant chatter of social media and urgent digital updates. I opened a book I had brought, finding that I could read for hours without distraction. The words on the page held my attention completely, unmarred by the urge to scroll. It was a revelation to realize how much of my focus had been stolen by tech. I spent the afternoon in this state of calm, enjoying the slow pace of the day. Returning home, the apartment felt less like a prison and more like a quiet sanctuary. I did not feel the need to rush, nor did I feel the urge to connect. The laptop remained closed, its battery slowly draining in the corner of the small room. I prepared a simple dinner, listening to the radio instead of streaming a curated playlist. The music was random, unpredictable, and surprisingly refreshing in its lack of algorithmic perfect curation. I sat by the window as the sun began its slow descent behind the urban skyline. The colors were vibrant, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and burning deep orange. I did not reach for a camera to capture the moment for some distant digital audience. I simply watched, letting the memory imprint itself onto my mind without a digital filter. The flip phone sat silent, a dormant tool that no longer held power over my day. I felt a sense of peace that I had not experienced in many long, busy years. The experiment was proving to be more than just a test of old, outdated hardware today. It was a journey into the forgotten corners of my own consciousness and my daily habits. I realized that the silence was not an enemy, but a space for true, deep thought. The weight of the world felt lighter, stripped of the constant, buzzing demand for my attention. I lay down on the bed, feeling the cool fabric against my tired, relaxed human skin. The city outside continued its frantic pace, but I was no longer part of that race. I closed my eyes, drifting towards sleep with a mind that felt clear and truly rested. The second day had passed, and I was finally learning how to exist without the noise. As the week progressed, the initial novelty of the 2010 hardware faded into a grueling test. It became a test of patience and resourcefulness, demanding focus I had long since abandoned. I found myself unable to access essential banking apps or any modern high-definition streaming services. This forced me to rely entirely on physical media and archaic software that crashed often. The programs would freeze with alarming frequency, leaving me staring at unresponsive, gray, pixelated screens. The isolation grew profound as I was severed from the instantaneous feedback loops of life. I was left to navigate a slower, more deliberate reality without the comfort of connectivity. I spent hours troubleshooting driver compatibility issues that modern systems would have resolved in seconds. Yet, this constant friction sparked a strange, meditative focus that I had long since abandoned. Without the constant ping of notifications, my mind began to settle into a quiet rhythm. I found myself reading physical books, their pages smelling of dust and long-forgotten paper memories. Each task required a level of manual effort that felt almost foreign in our automated age. By the final day, I had successfully completed my tasks, albeit with much more effort. The process took significantly more time than usual, but the work felt strangely more tangible. Returning to my modern devices felt like stepping into a hyper-accelerated, blindingly fast future world. The screen glowed with a harsh, vibrant intensity that made my eyes ache with strain. Every notification felt like a sudden intrusion into the quiet space I had carefully cultivated. I felt a lingering appreciation for the simplicity of the past and its quiet beauty. Simultaneously, I recognized the immense, overwhelming complexity of our current, hyper-connected, and digital landscape. The experiment concluded, leaving me forever changed by the silence of the disconnected digital void. I sat before the bulky monitor, watching the cursor blink with a rhythmic, hypnotic persistence. The beige plastic casing of the desktop computer hummed with a low, mechanical, and steady vibration. Every click of the mechanical mouse echoed through the room like a gunshot in the silence. I navigated through folders that were organized by date, feeling the weight of digital archaeology today. My fingers moved across the stiff keyboard, feeling the resistance of keys that required real pressure. The operating system struggled to load simple images, displaying them in slow, horizontal, and jagged strips. I realized how much of my life was previously outsourced to the cloud and invisible algorithms. Without the internet to bridge the gaps, I had to rely on my own failing memory. I scribbled notes on a yellow legal pad, finding comfort in the permanence of ink lines. The transition back to reality felt like waking from a long, slow, and deep dream state. I looked at my smartphone, which felt impossibly thin and light compared to my old gear. The glass surface was cool to the touch, a stark contrast to the warm plastic hardware. I hesitated before unlocking the screen, fearing the onslaught of data that would soon follow. The colors on the high-resolution display seemed almost too saturated, bordering on the truly artificial. I scrolled through feeds, feeling the familiar anxiety of information overload creeping back into mind. The speed of the processor was dizzying, rendering pages before I could even process the content. I missed the deliberate pace of the 2010 machine, where every action had a clear cost. There was no instant gratification, only the slow, steady progress of a machine working hard. I wondered if we had traded our capacity for deep concentration for this constant, shallow connectivity. The silence of the past week had been a luxury I had not realized I needed. I turned off the modern phone, wanting to preserve the lingering sense of calm for longer. The room felt different now, filled with the ghosts of the digital life I had resumed. I looked at the old desktop, now powered down and silent in the corner of office. It stood as a monument to a time when technology was a tool, not master. My eyes adjusted to the dim light, feeling the weight of the week finally lifting away. I walked to the window, watching the world move at its usual, frantic, and modern pace. The cars rushed by in a blur of motion that felt disconnected from my internal state. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the physical reality of the quiet afternoon air. The experiment was over, but the lessons of the slow week remained firmly in mind. I would never look at my high-speed connection the same way after this grueling trial. Every byte of data now felt like a choice rather than an inevitable, constant, flowing stream. I sat in the chair, feeling the texture of the fabric beneath my tired, aching hands. The silence was no longer a void, but a space I could inhabit with complete ease. I realized that the disconnect was not a failure, but a necessary reset for sanity. Technology should serve the human spirit, not overwhelm it with endless, meaningless, and digital noise. I reached for a book, choosing to ignore the glowing devices on the wooden desk. The words on the page were static, unchanging, and perfectly content to wait for me. I found peace in the stillness, a stark contrast to the chaos of the digital world. The week had been a journey into the past, but it revealed my own future. I closed my eyes, content to exist in the quiet, analog beauty of the present moment.